pretty dark.
Good afternoon, Quasar Markets Live. Agnieszka runs back into the stream. I hope you are seeing us. I do see some folks coming across here from Twitter, but I know Twitter X has been down a lot of the morning here. You can find us. If you do have us and then you lose us, make sure we are on YouTube and LinkedIn, also on the Quasar Markets feeds. So you can find us, but I do see the users going up. So it does look like we are finally getting out of the X issue there. So hopefully, Agnieszka, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well now, much better. Now I see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a great one today for us, for our viewers here. We're going to talk about one of your older blog posts from last year, but I really thought it came into play today as I read it, because as you go through it, we're going to hit on, 15 lessons that you have here on your trading psychology. And I thought so many of them were important on a day like today, where there's a lot of sort of, or not so much today, but the whole last week or two, where there's tariffs, there's not tariffs, things are good, things are bad. Where are we? We don't know. Up is down, down is up. We're fighting Canada. We're at war with Mexico, but we're in love with Greenland. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's really tough to align and stay grounded when everything is like pulling at you in opposite directions all the time. Pretty much, it's kind of hard to even like make up your own mind, right? You become as well
right. I think, and what caught me was number one, I think, says a lot about what we need to do with detachment is crucial. And we see this too much. And the reason I say that is I'm not talking about the markets being crazy and detaching from that. But as we know, a lot of people bought a lot of, the Mag 7 stocks, NVIDIA, Tesla, at very low prices maybe a year ago, and watched them boom to all-time highs, and are maybe still holding them. And they're in love with those stocks, and they don't ever want to part with their babies. But so why do we maybe... Does that fall into, am I hitting on sort of a little bit about number one here?
Yeah, I think detachment in general is really important, whether it's detaching in trading or in life. And of course, if you are constantly attaching yourself to someone, something, somebody, you will always feel like you can lose something, right?
Right.
So when you are trading, we all know you should not be attached to money, because that will mess up with your perspective, simply
right.
Because you will be always looking at the money as, like, oh, I need this. I need the money to survive. I need the money to pay my bills. I cannot lose. And this will be messing up with your perspective. How do
You've said in the past, there's no surer way to lose than to say I can't lose, right? Because then every decision is based with that in your mind.
Right. So with the detachment, I think that the most important part is to realize that being dependent on those external conditions all the time and attaching yourself to things that are not part of you as a person here sitting in front of the computer and trading, and constantly being distracted by, oh yeah, but the price is going up and I need to buy now because I need to be in this trade, and then makes you sort of get away from what you have planned,
right,
as you trade. So like, you mentioned, for example, NVIDIA, right? The baby. I mean, NVIDIA used to be my baby. I used to love trading NVIDIA. But attaching yourself emotionally to something that you might lose, that puts you always in the position where you will be afraid to lose it. Right. And in trading, it's just so easy to get stuck with the wrong thing, right? Because yes, you might love the stock, and nobody says you shouldn't, but it's a matter of where in time you are actually married to it. Right. So
absolutely.
Don't marry the stock.
And remember, the no stock loves us. So that, and they don't, the market doesn't love us, doesn't owe us anything. It's another one that
just date it. Just treat it as, friendship with benefits.
Just take it to dinner now and again,
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of a friendship with benefits, because you're just getting in the position in the right moment, right? to benefit from it. But then as long as it doesn't benefit you, you get away. And then you come in again to look for that benefit. It doesn't mean that you have to hate the stock when it doesn't, when you don't benefit from it. It's just staying neutral, detaching from that emotional connection with the position that you are in, and with the market in general.
Absolutely. Another
Otherwise,
one
you
that
make it so personal. Like everything that we make personal has the potential to hurt us. And
right,
if the
and to
loss
cloud
is
our
hurt,
judgment also, I would say too, right?
say it again.
It also has a tendency to cloud our judgment.
Absolutely. That's like with everything. Just if you are in love with someone, things will hurt you more, and it will definitely influence your decision making, right? How you will be treating different situations, because automatically when you are attached to something or someone, you don't want to lose that person or that thing, and this will cloud your judgment. Now in trading, if you attach yourself to something, the question is what is behind it? Like, why are you attaching yourself to that position? And usually it is not just because you love Nvidia. It is usually because you have some hope and some expectations that doesn't come to fruition, and now you're just trying to either prove yourself right, or it's your self-worth. There's always something behind it why you
Right, or
actually
even you're putting up the walls that it didn't happen, so to speak, and sort of hiding from it. I know some traders that just think that, if I don't look at my account, then it didn't go down, which is not a good philosophy either, as we talk about. Moving ahead a little bit here, let's talk about pause, because it's the one that you talk about in a few different ways, and that we've spoken about in the past, and that I think is a big one, is not to just hit buttons as soon as something happens, right?
Yeah, it's being reactive is never good. Reacting to decisions doesn't give you the opportunity to actually consider whether it's the decision you should be making. Well, now it's different when you are in an accident or something and you're trying to save your life. That is definitely reactive, and your survival instinct kicks in, and by all means start reacting. But in trading in general, your life is not in danger.
Right.
So don't put yourself into that situation where you feel like your life is in danger, because then you will start reacting. Pause is that moment where things happen on the screen, and just think how many times the price was dropping, and you are like too quick in reacting, and it's like, oh my god, or I need to buy, or I need to get out of this. And then you were like, I should have waited just 1 second, literally, because this was just not the right decision. If I had waited, just think about how many times do you say to yourself, I should have this, or I should have that, I should have waited, I should have stayed. It's like every time you say should have, it's probably those moments where if you had taken a pause, and it can be literally 5 seconds, you can sort of focus on what is the best decision. Like, what is my plan actually telling me? How am I gonna, what is in my best interest in this situation? Maybe it is to take a loss, right? Because that could be very well be.
Take time to decide to make that decision, and don't just react immediately. Respond after you've taken some time, is what you've taught me.
Right. Be responsive, not reactive.
Absolutely. Align your goals. I think this is a big one that people don't do, and I would put it in a couple of different ways. They don't do it with their trading strategy to make sure that it aligns with what their actual goals are, and then the way that you're going to talk about it more here. But I think it can break down to both. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think first of all, probably not many people really think about alignment too much, or maybe even not everyone maybe even like kind of integrate what alignment really means. It has been a big word recently, when there is a lot of personal development and much more mindset related content in trading industry. But aligning with your goals, first of all, means to understand what your goals are. And I'm not talking about for today, I want to make $200. I'm talking about what is your long-term goal with this? What is it that you actually want? And don't tell me I want to make $1 million. What is your goal to do with this $1 million? What is your vision for what you are doing today? And how is this $200 going to bring you there? So aligning your actions with what you want to achieve long term will really help you to pause and not to be desperate and really take a step back and say, you know what, actually, this is not the best idea to do because it does not align with my long term vision. And when you make your plan, always look first, what is your goal? Because your goal defines the plan. And once you have that plan and you know, like, okay, I have this plan and I made it based on my goal, now your plan becomes your goal. So then you don't have to question your goals anymore, because it's very easy if they are not aligned. It's very easy to every day, like, oh yeah, but I'm not going to make it anyway. Oh, look, I just lost $200. Oh my God, I will never become a trader. Just once you have the goal, make your plan based on your goal, and then make the plan your goal. So focus on everyday steps. This is how you
Absolutely.
will really find that alignment with your goals. I hope
Yeah.
that makes
That's what's so important, you know, and it sounds simple, but we see many people don't do that, and it leads to more losses and burning out accounts for sure.
yeah.
The next one
And
I
that
love
brings,
that you
this
have
is actually
too is
the next point, like what you just mentioned. Yeah,
yeah, that's I was just about to say they tie in so well together.
yeah, because a lot of times when you look outside yourself, you think that other people have found the better way. And the reason why your way might not be working is because you are trying to do what someone else is doing. And you are you, and you have your unique ways of doing things. And the alignment and the integrity you can only find within yourself. So if you're trying to mimic someone else, and I'm not saying don't look at successful traders and don't learn from them, learn what they're doing and then bring it inside and feel, how is this true for me? How is this working for me? How does it even feel? Is this something that suits me? Because if you don't have that alignment with yourself and you're trying to trade, for example, a strategy that is completely out of your, even your preferences or your risk parameters, your risk tolerance, it might work for them, but it won't work for you, and you will
And
just
that's the
struggle.
key is that's there's too many people we've talked about it. You can't just follow a person you see on Twitter, a person you see on YouTube. You can learn from them. We're not saying that, as you absolutely can and should learn from these educators, but you've got to fit it into your risk tolerance, what works for you, how you're
Right.
going to be comfortable trading, and that achieve your goals. Like we just said, going back and forth between them, it's more important than people sometimes realize, right?
Right. Right. And I totally understand why that is, because if you see someone that's successful and you're struggling, obviously you're like, just tell me what you do, just tell me how you do it, just let me just I mean, I've been there, like literally just tell me where to get in so that I at least make some money. It's
Right.
just a desperation. So
Yeah.
I totally get it, but just know that this is not a long-term solution, and usually not even short-term solution. It's just sort of like a band-aid for a temporary your own temporary feeling, to give you a better feeling about yourself, that okay, now I'm going to follow this guy who knows what he does, and then it's going to help me. It's not. and
Right.
and this is just very short term
Look,
view.
right. Absolutely. The next one, 5, I think is so important right now is don't try to predict the future. There's so many people that are trying to say, okay, what is the president going to do next? What is this going to do next? What is that going to do next? And it's, I always say we have to play the hand we're dealt, and you have to play the market in front of you. I think that falls into this a little bit, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we know we cannot predict the future. Well, we might have theories and theses, and it's a lot of fun to do. And, after the fact, everyone is genius, and people take incredible pride in saying, I predicted this. No, you just happened to guess it right.
Right.
You didn't predict it. You didn't know that it's going to happen. You had the theory, so yeah, based on the information you had, great, fantastic. But it doesn't mean that next time it's going to happen again. Even though people like to have people who predict the future because it gives them certainty. But
Right.
really,
And Steve talked
yeah,
about that today with right now technical analysis. You can have the best technical analysis and still lose. He said you've got to, be looking at fundamentals right now and making sure that you have a thesis that is, going to fit your
yeah,
time frame, like you're talking about, align with your goals. There's, a 5 or 6 different components that come to all of that, right?
right. And it's totally fine when you are listening to people who can predict the market, because it's very educational, right? You start learning how the professionals are thinking about the market, what kind of things they're looking at, and how they draw their conclusions.
Yeah.
While being aware that they also don't know for sure. Because if you are, and a lot of times that happens to me too. Like I see someone who sort of can predict the market, and then when they say something, I would then start hesitate about my own plan. And
Right.
I
Oh
had a
yeah.
plan and it was
Oh yeah,
great.
I fell for that for a long time, that I
Yeah,
would get talked out of trades because someone jumped on CNBC and said buy, 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 or sell, sell, sell. Well,
yeah,
after I spent hours or days even looking at a thesis. So yeah, it's so important, that you do that. I think it goes to, like you're saying, in number 6, like that's why these tie all in. And this one always blows me away because I couldn't believe that number. You've mentioned it a few times in here, and I'm highlighting it. Is that, to
right.
me, that line right there scares me.
It's about 48 thoughts a minute.
Yeah,
So that's a lot.
60,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day. I think
Yeah.
I'm behind. I think I fall on the lower side of the spectrum. Is there a term for that? Am I a low production thinker?
I think they call it anemic.
Yeah, I thought it was just deep thought. I have deep thoughts about my things. Some people just gloss through them. I spend, much more time.
Yeah. Monitoring your thoughts, of course, like we have about 90, maybe even 95% thoughts that are repetitive from the day before. So there's a lot of automatic programs running at the back of our head, and we don't really have to think about it too much, right? Like how we do things, how we breathing, how we are eating, like digestion, all the things, the process are there. But there is a lot of repetitive thoughts about things that we have already thought about so many times. And
Right.
now the monitoring your thoughts is really meant to see where is your focus of attention. And it's not so much what am I all thinking, it's about the quality of those thoughts. So not how much you're thinking, but what you are thinking. So you might be thinking a lot of the same thoughts, but as long as they are bringing you closer to what you want, if they are about what you want instead of what you're trying to avoid, if those thoughts are not scaring you, if they are aligned with your long-term goals,
Right.
by all means, think a lot of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, when they're not, And again, I think it goes to part of that reaction and response,
Mhm.
is
Yeah,
that's part of it, is slow down, because you have 48 of them coming in a minute, and say, okay, now this just came in. Let me think about it. Let me take a second. What am I going to do? What does it mean? What is it going to do to the market? And what does it mean to me and my positions?
right.
There. This is another one that I love, is question your trading decisions. I do this a lot. Is I will take the counter to my trade and say, okay,
Right.
if I was going to take a bearish position, maybe if I was buying the dip on something, what would I be looking at? What would be the things? Because it can also for me, from a technical analysis side, it can also lead you to understand where those important levels can be to set stop losses and take
Right.
profits, right?
Right. Totally. I mean, with experience, when you have been trading for a long while, you also probably have gone through a lot of different strategies, and it's always good to put everything together. It kind of helps. Like if you are, going long, knowing your short-term strategies you have used, or maybe your lessons that you have learned from that, you can always put the picture together. But questioning your decisions, regardless how long you have been trading, is just bring you that perspective of,
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen. That, you know, not predicting the future or knowing something for sure. Like in general, if your first response is, I don't know, with anything in your life, that opens up a lot of freedom of and less pressure on you, so that you are okay with making a mistake.
Right.
Because if you want to know for sure and then you make a mistake, now you're trying to prove yourself right. If you
Sure.
say to start with, I don't know, this is my best guess, and it
Yeah.
might not work. Totally different approach when you are entering, and totally different feeling, much less pressure, and much more openness to actually take the loss and say, yeah,
Right, because you're
uh,
not marrying yourself to that position. You're admitting that there is room for it, which we all need to do, because no system, no person's ever going to be 1,000% on their predictions, their
right,
trades. Anyone that tells you they win 100% of the time, immediately get out of that chat room, and the Telegram message they're sending you, or whatever they're trying to,
yeah,
convince you to buy from them, because it just doesn't happen. Even the greatest in the world don't. Most of them trade at a 60-40 percentage and are killing
right,
it at that percentage. So I
right.
do think it's, important for people to understand that. I love your next one is, I say it, you have to have your thesis and you trade your thesis, setting the criteria. Why are you entering the trade? And more importantly, what is going to cause me to exit the trade, either in the positive or the negative, right?
Right. So you're talking, here you're talking about really knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
What is it? How is it that you're trading? Like, what are the steps in your process to make sure that every time you take the same steps? Because if you want something to be consistent, you have to do things the same way consistently.
Right.
If you are, every time you take a trade, you're like, yeah, I don't know, one time my entry is here, one time my entry is here, and one time the stop is 5 points, one time is 10 points. I'm like, it's all over the place. I'm like, how can you even
Yeah, that's
have
just
a
that
sort of
they're
an
going to burn out
idea?
their accounts. That those are the exact issues that you find in retail traders that burn out their accounts, because
Yeah,
there has to be a methodology for all of it. This is
right,
what my average position is. This is the diversification of my portfolio that I'm going to do. Yeah, there are plenty of people that maybe, and you have a lot of them in traded funders, I'm sure, who will maybe only trade 2 or 3 instruments, but that's a different life. That's not what we're talking about for the average retail trader, because you're not gonna play in that world. These are folks that are trading with $100,000 of capital at any given time or more.
right.
So it's a different world they're playing in. For most retail traders that are dipping their toes and doing it as a side hustle towards their jobs, you're going to have a different way of trading, and you're going to want to make sure that you're hitting all of these criterias.
Yeah, and there is a reason why, professional athletes are repeating their steps, like basketball, every time the same way, because this is how you
Yeah,
create
you
consistency.
you learn it goes again to one of the things that you teach is habits. Habits,
Right,
are something you can repeat, and those good habits then turn into good results. I
right.
truly believe
Mental
that.
muscle,
Yeah,
mental muscle memory, basically.
absolutely. And next we have change your perspective.
Uh,
Right now, when a trade goes in the direction you expected, but you are looking to get out
yes.
before your target's reached for no other reason than fear of losing, switch to a chart with a higher time frame, maybe.
So switching your perspective is zooming out, zooming in, just looking from a different way at your charts, at the situation you are in. It's almost like, I call it a chair dance. Sometimes you sit here and you think like, okay, so I am long in a position. You switch a chair and say, how would I think about this position if I was short in it?
Right.
Would
Yeah,
I still,
absolutely.
that's one thing. And then if you go, if you trade on a 5-minute chart, and then you go and zoom out, you go to 1 hour chart, this chart is going to be very different. If you trade on the lower time frame, right, you will get a lot of volatility, and there might not be even a reason why you should be getting out of the trade if you
Right.
zoom out.
If you
But
zoom out, right, you might have like you said, it completely changes your perspective on the trade.
yeah,
It gives you a little bit more of a frame to what's going on. Sometimes we get into that short term, like you said, the 1 minute chart, the 5-minute chart.
yeah,
And sometimes, as Jeremy Vreeland, one of our traders, says, is look left, and that's his way of
yeah,
saying zoom out. He's like, you just need to look left.
yes,
Um,
exactly. And the thing is, it changes your experience, because it's very easy to shake yourself out of something and become volatile when you are looking at the trade, at the chart that's moving very fast, right? If
Yep.
you go and zoom out to a higher time frame, it will change your experience, and it will go, oh, what am I making myself crazy about? It's, wow,
Yep,
everything is
absolutely.
so,
Yeah, no, you just nailed it. It's what I've been telling people that have been freaking out to me about Bitcoin. I'm like, by the way, we only hit 80,000 in November. So let's not lose our minds.
right,
This isn't
right,
like
to zoom out, right?
we had spent the last, I'd be more nervous on something else that has spent the last 2 years trading over its 200-day MA and now is reversed than I am on the fact that Bitcoin, which always goes below its 200 MA and has 30% swings on any given day all the time.
Yeah,
It all
gotta be able
depends
to
on
handle
it.
that, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got to know that, yeah, and have that perspective of like, wait a minute, okay, it does that, but it always does that.
Yeah,
So how
that's
big
all.
of a deal
Yeah,
is it?
nothing happened today. Like when yeah, VIX spiked. Yeah, VIX spikes. It does it quickly. It does it rapidly. We've been in a. This is one of the few times that I was pointing out this morning that the VIX has actually gone up, sort of in a daily pattern. It's not normally what happens. Normally, it sort of half goes up on one day. The next day, it goes boom, and then it comes right back down. We're seeing one of the first since I think September, the first extended sort of play to the upside.
Right. And that's what you hear a lot from newer traders, like, what is happening with the market? Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, so much down. I'm like, okay, have you looked left? Have you seen how much up the market was in the last months? Like,
Exactly. And it's having
what
that,
are you talking
and
about?
this goes into your next two that you have right here, balanced screen time, because I take that sometimes as for traders, those of us that have 8 screens, which most of us do in front of us, whatever number that might be, but don't have them all filled. I've actually started doing that myself where I've stopped filling some of them because I had just too many inputs coming in that weren't helping me. You know what I mean? You talked
Yeah,
about it before, clearing the clutter and sort of taking it down. I take that as both. You can't trade 24/7 in my world of crypto. You can, but don't. And I
right.
take that as a couple of different ways, right?
Yeah. I mean, balance is really about everything in life, whether it's the number of screens, the number of things in your life, how long you're in front of the screen and trading. Like, you gotta balance your life, because otherwise you cannot be grounded, right? So
Right.
when you are sitting in front of the charts and the market when it's open, you have to understand also that there is a lot of pressures coming at you, and how well grounded you are, that will define how well you can handle all those pressures. So
Yeah.
balance your life in general, and then
Right,
it
which
will be
goes to your
much
number
easier for the
12.
market
These
to
all
shift.
sort of roll into each other. 12 is take breaks. And
Yes,
this is something that I tell my traders all the time, people who come to me for advice that ask me what's going on. I make it clear, do not sit in the same chair for 8 straight hours, 9 straight hours, and
right.
just trade. You need to go, smell the flowers, so to speak. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is that you want to
Right.
do. For me, I've talked with you, I take the dog out, we play a little fetch, and it makes, you just got to step away, right? It can just go take a regular break, go grab a soda from downstairs. Just
Yeah.
go sit in your
Call a friend,
recliner. Yeah.
call a friend, do
Yeah.
something,
Whatever it might be. Go play a
go and
video
put the
game.
wash on.
Yeah, even those of you that don't have maybe another person, go play a video game. Go do whatever it is that makes you relax that's outside of trading, is what I
Yeah,
want to say. Is
that's
take
so,
a break
so
from
important.
trading. Don't, because some people think taking a trade is shutting off, looking at Trading View on my charts and then watching CNBC. That to me is not taking a break.
No, because your head is still going and thinking, oh, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should take this position. And it's just really about getting the pressure off and getting your brain to relax, to have that moment of, just even quieting down your mind
Right.
with the worries and with the pressure, with the responsibilities and all the things that are coming together with trading, whatever you are putting into it. And that comes together with the change of the position, right? Because this is really about your body, and body has a lot with your balance. It has a lot of taking breaks, because when you are trading, and I know a lot of traders are sitting in a sitting position, you sort of contract. Everything is like stuck, right? You cannot really relax and let your breath flow if you're stuck, if you're contracting. So just taking a break gives you also the possibility to get up and get your body relaxed. Once your body relaxes, your mind relaxes. So it all works together.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I always recommend stand-up desk, because you are sort of automatically downloading the energy and the stream down to the ground. But not everyone has a stand-up desk. That's why taking break might be, a
Right. Or
solution
stand
for
up
you.
at your desk for a second. I have a
Yeah.
standing desk, but my little one decided to break my cord the other day. So now I'm waiting. So now I have a not so standing desk. And of course, she did it halfway in between the sitting and the standing.
Right.
That's why I have my hands look like they're down on my lap here, because my desk is a little bit lower than it should be.
Oh, that's funny.
But we'll get that
Yeah.
fixed quick enough. At 14, take responsibility. One thing she did not do when she broke my desk was the little one did not take responsibility.
She's like, I don't care about the desk. I just want to go
Yeah, it wasn't me. That first answer, it wasn't me.
out. Of course. Yes. So taking responsibility, I like to explain this as the responsibility is your ability to respond. And I think, the word should have ability in it and not I. I think that will be much better, because taking responsibility is really thinking about the consequences of your actions up front, not afterwards. Because if you do that, then you automatically taking responsibility. If you think about the consequences of everything you do before, when something goes wrong, you cannot say, oh, I didn't know that. Yes,
Right.
you
And
did
it
it.
goes to especially to what we have going on right now, where someone says, oh, well, I was doing great in that trade. And then, President Trump tweeted. Well, he tweets every day. Like, if you're
Yeah,
not taking
I
that
know.
into account in your setup right now, then you're not doing, like we said in 1, 2, and 3, getting yourself prepared correctly to trade.
Right.
And to have the correct thesis, because that's going to be the case. We hear that I was doing great, and then X, and
Yeah.
whether X is,
But that's just excuses for exactly this point, for not taking responsibility. And you have to realize that if you don't do that, if you don't take the responsibility, you will never reach the freedom you want, because you can only get the freedom if you are able to take responsibility for it. That's
right.
why usually when you work for corporations, for a boss, they don't give you too much freedom, because otherwise you would just kind of do nothing, right? Because you would get paid. Why would I do something if I don't have to take the responsibility? So your freedom is cut there to make sure that you take responsibility. So if you really want that freedom, you have to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
And that starts with taking responsibility for the consequences of your action. But if you have a plan and you say, oh, you know what, I have a plan, but I'm not going to follow it anyway. I want to, but I can't. And then you look for excuses why you didn't. That's not taking responsibility. You can turn it as you want it, but that's
Right.
the really the
It,
basic thing, taking
yeah.
responsibility.
And what I always tell people is you're the one that presses the buy and sell buttons. No one else does that for
Yeah,
you. You
yeah,
might be listening to X person or Y person and doing this, but ultimately you are responsible for your own actions, like you're saying, and you're
yeah.
the one that pushes those buttons. So don't pass that along that, well, so and so said it was going to go up. That's not a reason to buy a stock.
Right. And sometimes I also see, especially now with more mindset trainings and mindset talk in trading
Yeah.
industry. Now there's another reason to hide behind it. Oh yeah, I probably have some hidden beliefs that are there that
They're
are
clouding my judgment. Yeah, they hear
making
a
me
few
do it.
buzzwords, right? A few buzzwords, listening to us here at Quasar Markets or any of the
Right,
other resources that are popping up now across the action. And what
right.
I'm going to say is what's so important, I've put how to reach you across the bottom here of our screen, is to take action. If you realize that these 14 things are overwhelming for you, and they are for many, then my advice as someone who has been in this trading world for a long time is to find someone like Agnieszka that can help you manage your emotions and get you in the right mindset to trade successfully. I can tell you that no one has a better day when her students have a good day than Agnieszka. She'll come in usually the first thing that comes out is, I was just on the phone with so and so, and their account just did this. They had their first $5,000 a week, and that means because they're trading in 500 accounts, it was 25 grand. I can't believe it, and she is as excited as the trader is. So she's been so helpful for me, just getting the insights that I get here on Mondays and Wednesdays. Imagine what she can do for you guys if you give her a little time. And a lot of the stuff to get started are free programs. Again, I can't stress that enough. Free programs. Only thing you'll lose is a little bit of your time. And like we've talked about, isn't it important to get aligned with what your trading thesis is and maximize your abilities? These are one of the things you want to maximize, just like you want to learn the newest trending, technical analysis indicator. You want to also be able to, look inward a little bit and maximize what your capabilities are, right? And can you talk a little bit about some of the programs you do have? I'll go to your
Yeah, so if you go
homepage
to my
here.
website, because really the taking action is about, like, don't look for excuses why you don't trade well. It's like there's so much information. Like on my website, you will find some free stuff, but also on my YouTube channel, there are some free classes you can get started. If you, for example, get so these are my coaching programs that are actually paid, but again, like the do-it-yourself program, you get so much value. I call it first aid, because this is really for people who have not done anything with the mindset yet, or they struggle and they really want to get this first help to get their emotions under control. But I have students, like, for example, Derek, you will see in a second on the website, is actually a little bit
Oh,
lower.
down, he's the one that's just below.
Derek
Yeah.
did this course, and now he's trading for a living since a long time, after 10 years of losing profit. So it's really all up to you. How much commitment do you want to give, and how much
Right.
responsibility do you want to take? So this is just $349 course, and you get a lot of tools. You get full spectrum of support, and it is do it yourself, but you are becoming part of my universe and my Facebook group, and you can always ask me questions. I'm always there. There are also others.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say is, believe me, you will get more than your money's worth from this. Agnieszka gives so much of her time to her students that, she answers questions for people
Right.
all the time, even ones that aren't her students. So I can only imagine what she does there. And I know she's almost always coming off a phone call or have to go. In fact, I want to get you out of here. I've kept you much later than normal.
That's all
Agnieszka,
right.
thank you for sharing time with us like always.
Thank you so
And
much.
I think when we come back on Wednesday, we should go through a little bit of your other programs
Yeah,
and a little
let's do
bit more
that.
detail so people know
Sounds
what
great.
there is and how to get in touch with you. So thank you again, like always.
Thank you so much, Howard. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you back at 1 o'clock with Prosper Trading Academy. Mike Shore, the legend of short-term options, will be on today at 1 o'clock.